Is there a chance that we see Zach LaVine with the Chicago Bulls for the rest of the season? Maybe, maybe not. And then I want to go ahead and talk about Kobe White, the instructions he received from his teammates and the coaching staff. We're going to talk about it, break it down, but you gotta hear the music first. Cognac, gang. Shy Bulls podcast with the Cognac Boys. I'm Cognac Boy Bobby, and I'm holding it down another episode of Shy Bulls podcast with me and my co-host C-Dub today. If you're tuning in with me, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell as well. Now, on to the topic for the day. Look, we know that Zach LaVine has been back for these last three games, and in these last three games, the Chicago Bulls are 3-0. There are times to where they look absolutely amazing, and there are times to where you begin to pull your hair out because of some of the things that they continue to do in closing moments of the game and in fourth quarters. But when you look at how the team is looking at Zach LaVine, and then the coach talks about Zach LaVine, I gotta ask the question: do we believe there's a chance Zach LaVine will remain with the team for the remainder of the season? And something that I looked up and I found out from Sports Illustrated in regards to Zach LaVine, it came from comments made by Billy Donovan. Comments made like this, end quote, in my conversations with Zach. And again, he's never really talked about his future, his feelings towards the organization and the team. Never anything like that. Everything he talked about is how does he help the group? And it's always been really positive, constructive conversations with him. I know there's a lot of reporting and things that are out there about what potentially may or may not happen. But my conversations with him leading into his return was he needed to come in and help the group any way he could. For me, I've always taken the approach that this is our team for the rest of the year until something changes. As a coach, if you sit around and say, well, this guy can be moved, this guy can be moved, then you're looking at who are we getting back? To me, it would just be a waste of energy. End quote from Billy Donovan. And I think Billy Donovan, I'm not saying he's giving away the answers, but it's definitely bring you to the forefront to where you got to start asking questions. Is there a real chance that Zach LaVine remains with this team based off all things that's been said, not only by Billy Donovan, but other things that have been put in the media around the NBA and talks when it comes to trades? You know what I'm saying? We've seen Adrian Wojnarowski come out, Shams come out, Joe Cowley come out. A number of reporters coming out pretty much saying there's really no market for Zach LaVine. Even that was early on. And now lately it's been a team here, a team there. Maybe, the starter when it comes to looking at Zach LaVine, it starts with this player and this amount of trade picks. Draft picks. So it's just all just things that you have to continuously have a conversation about. And I know that it might be a reason why the front office might be a bit reluctant to get rid of Zach LaVine. First and foremost, it's the contract. They paid this guy. They gave him because they had the belief in him that he can be here for the foreseeable future. And in their minds, this is a clear investment in this said player, which is Zach LaVine, in hopes that this guy can be one of the key components to bring the Chicago Bulls to the promised land. There could also be beliefs within the packages out there that just might not be strong enough. We've heard news and reports that the front office is pretty much looking at win now players, and we know the history surrounding the front office that they don't really like making moves if it doesn't make sense in their minds. Like all the things that's been going around Alex Caruso the last few years. Talking about DeMar DeRozan, at least from a fan standpoint, we didn't see anything transpire. And even now, when you talk about Zach LaVine, I'm pretty sure they're not going to give him up for pennies on the dollar like most trades that other GMs have done. You know what I'm saying? Like even when the Bulls were going through their struggles and stuff, you see, I believe 2 years ago, they went and got Tristan Thompson. And then last year, they went and got Patrick Beverley in the buyout market. They didn't really trade for these guys, but they thought that these guys, they can go ahead and kind of be cheap in a way, but still feel like these are good enough players that you can bring in and try to help the team. So, and when we speak about helping the team, they still believe that they could possibly believe that Zach LaVine can still help the team, which he has shown through 3 games. For the most part, he has bought in. Yes, it was necessary last night when that overtime game for him to go in ISO situations because of the talent that he has, because of the player that he is. He was able to convert that and help the Chicago Bulls in major ways. But I could say this: in the last 3 games, you have not seen Zach LaVine take away from Kobe White. You have not seen him take away from Ayo Dosunmu or Patrick Williams. You have seen him add on to the defensive pressure that the Bulls want to continue to play with. You've seen him still get up and down the court in transition. So as of right now, Billy Donovan has a point, and Zach LaVine said it himself. How can he help? And he has been helping. You know what I'm saying? And another thing that we have to take into consideration when it comes to, hey, this trade stuff, it's all trade stuff. People request trades all the time. But in most cases, or in some cases, I'll say that the front office doesn't have to trade the player. And it's up to the player if they want to remain professional, just come in, do their job, hoop, and just leave it at that. And then you get some players that come in, cause a fuss, throw on a fat suit, or, act injured just so they can sit down and things like that. But as of right now, we've seen Zach LaVine really appear to buy in. I know it's only 3 games. We got a lot of we need to see more before we completely say yes, Zach LaVine has bought in, or unless we hear news that he has, withdrew that trade request. But as of right now, we know the request is still there. But in the meantime, this is who we got. This is the guy we have. This is the all-star we have on our team. And I believe he can help more so than hurt the Chicago Bulls because his mindset has been strictly on basketball and helping the young guys. All his ill will has not led and, flooded into the court for the most part. There could have been some things, before the injury that we looked to like, Zach, what are you doing? Like, Zach, but for the most part, he has been a show. He has not turned into a no-show. He has not gone down that route, at least right now, when you talk about Zach LaVine and how he's been contributing to the Chicago Bulls or acting towards the Chicago Bulls. So there is a chance that he could still be here for the foreseeable future. And I'm not saying, another year or two, but in most cases, if you're trying to move a contract of his size, you need time. And a lot of times, if you rush into these decisions, you might get the shit end of the stick. So I'm not too upset about what the front office is trying to do here. They're trying to take their time with this, making sure that they get the best deal possible. And I believe that it should move that way because you just don't want to give up a player of Zach LaVine's caliber away for pennies on the dollar. There are not a lot of Zach LaVines in his league. There are guys that can give you energy. There are guys that are 3-point specialists. There are guys that can attack the basket. But there are very few all-star caliber players in this NBA. So we got to see what it's going to lead to. We eventually find out sooner rather than later. So go ahead and drop your thoughts below. Let me know how you feel about Zach LaVine. Do you think he'll be here after the trade deadline, or do you think he'll be gone? We know that more contracts, become tradable in the next 4 days on January 15th. Do we, and then the trade deadline is in February. Do you see Zach LaVine stand on past the trade deadline, or do you think that he'll be gone? Let me know down below. Now, before we go, I want to talk about Kobe White. Kobe White has been, my God, I am extremely proud of this young guy right here, man. Extremely proud. All the things that he's going through, and he has worked through them, pushed through all the adversity, started, got benched, starting again. And there were some people that were on the fence about it. And I'm never gonna sit there and castigate them because the reasons were valid. They just didn't know. But as of right now, with the sample size, playing over 30 games this season thus far, having multiple 20-point games this far, 30-point games this far, I'm extremely proud of this guy. And a major contributor to that has been the instructions that Kobe White has received from his coaching staff and his teammates that are on the team. When he was asked about it, Kobe White pretty much came out and said this: nothing really changed. Obviously, we're returning Zach and Vooch, but including those guys, everybody is telling me to keep doing what I'm doing, be myself, and keep playing the way I'm playing. They told me to stay aggressive, make the right play, and be who I am and who I have been. So shout out to Kobe White, and big shout out to those teammates. Big shout out to the coaching staff to wanting to continue to see young players rise up. Why? Because when you can combine all these things and you can mix up a nice potion, you start to put more wins in the win column. You still, excuse me, it's still going to be something to where we got to figure out like what the ceiling is for this player or what the ceiling is for this team with this type of player, added on with the veterans that we have on, adding on with the younger guys that we have on the team that seem like they're starting to rise to the occasion a little bit. But as for right now, we get to see Kobe White put on an absolute show. I will make the argument he probably the first or second option. I don't know, maybe overboard, but probably the first or second option with all the things that he can do. With a lot of things, Kobe White has completely transformed his game. He's able to get to the basket at will now. The handle is crazy right now, especially when you watch last game. On the split, the double team, get in the paint, hit him with some nasty. My God. Shout out to Kobe White. The threes were falling yesterday. The inside game was on yesterday. 8 assists last night. Man, the guy was on his game. So big shout out to him and the things that he's been doing. And I'm glad that he received those instructions from the coaching staff, because that did nothing but boost his confidence a little bit more, because he knows that these guys I'm playing with, they're all-star caliber players. I want to be in that conversation with them. I want to be in those positions with them. And my coaching staff and those all-star caliber players just put their trust in me to continue to do what I've been doing now that they're all coming back healthy. Man. I don't know where this going to lead for Kobe White. I really don't know. Where is it going to lead for Kobe White? But most improved players on the table and all-star game is on the table for the foreseeable future, talking about probably next season for sure, at least, if he can continue to play like this. And if the Bulls get a better start next year, I know I'm probably thinking too far into it, but man, most improved player is definitely right on the table, at least right now, and more things to come. If Kobe White can continue to ascend, I think the guy's still only 23, 24 years old, hasn't even sniffed his prime yet. So it's on. It's on like Donkey Kong. But on that note, I think it's time to end that. We're going to end it on that note right there. Let me know your thoughts and everything below regarding Kobe White and the instructions that he received from the coaching staff and teammates. Make sure if you tuned in today, you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to call in on a voicemail line. We'll get you right there and ready for our voicemail bag episodes. And that number is 773-242-9219. It's another episode of Shy Bulls Podcast. I'm Bobby. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one for sure. Cognac. Gang.